welcome to Tales from the Albright. We are here with Brianna and Scott, and it is our 100th episode, so it's very exciting. What we're going to do today is just a look back at the podcast. And you can watch the more recent episodes on YouTube. You can also listen to the complete project on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, as well as the library's website. We have a page there for it as well. I'm working on getting the transcriptions for everything put up, so you'll have those to read through as well if you wish. So, I guess my first question is, what has the podcast kind of meant to you? What has your experience been? Whoever wants to start first.
Well, I think that it's a great thing for the library. Just to delve into just the history of it, what it means, and just to have the staff and then share what books they're reading, and it's really been a way to just to get out to the community what we're all about. So I think it's been a great thing.
I think it's really great in terms of the same approach, like reaching everybody. I feel like I got the full experience as someone who was a listener before I ever worked here. And I just remember someone I knew saying, "Oh, did you know that the library up in Scranton has a podcast?" And I was like, "Really?" Like, I know podcasts are a thing and they're popular now, but I had no idea our local library had one. So I started listening, and I got to learn about like the history of the building, and I thought Alyssa was a celebrity. I thought it was so cool. I was like, "Oh, that's so neat." And then when I started working here, and I got like the email asking it who on the staff wanted to join, I was like, this sounds so fun.
I think it was like your first day or something.
Yeah, it was one of my first days, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. We could actually be on the podcast. I thought it was this like super cool secret production. And then since then, it's just been so much fun. I know I love our book discussions, and I love listening to all the other things you talk about with everybody else, and seeing sort of all the different facets of what we do in the podcast.
Yeah. I feel like for me, it's been this like odd, weird project that I've just been working on, and I think it really taps into, I just enjoy researching things and then like sharing information.
Shocker. The reference librarian really likes that.
So I think for me, it's kind of nice. I almost feel like when I write out the scripts for the historical ones, I always, because it's so academic, but I always like put it into a Word document, and because I'm just curious of how long they are. And it tends to be like, if I was writing an essay for college or a class, it would be like 6-page papers for each one. So I feel like I really get into it and find fun stories, and I just enjoy sharing them.
And it's fun that you can bring the cool hidden stuff of our reference department to light, like the things that folks who don't come in and look through the microfilm and all of our stuff who wouldn't know about, and you can bring it to them or encourage people to come like learn more and check out the stuff we have.
And we use the stuff later too, like, if we're doing something with one of our branches, like the Nancy K. Holmes branch, oh, Alyssa did a podcast, what did you say about that?
You're like the oral history of the library.
Yeah. So
and it's being preserved through the podcast and SoundCloud and now YouTube. And then I keep all the sources. They're always right there. So at least if somebody does need them, I can go back and find the specific articles. I know I've done that a few times with Nancy K.
Yep. Alyssa, how did all this start?
So when we were closed during the COVID-19 pandemic, we worked from home, and then I kind of was in this awkward space where I felt like I needed to prove myself because I had just gone full time. But there was nothing to really do because we were all at home. And so when we came back, we started scanning in photos. It really started with the mugshots. And I talked to Jacob, who was working in reference at the time, and he was like, people love true crime. And I'm like, people do love true crime. So we started joking around about having the mugshots be some form of true crime podcast. And that's really where it started. And then it was kind of a joke for a little bit. And then I started thinking about it more and more. And I was like, no, that could actually be fun. So then I went to Martina and then to you, Scott, and just asked about it. And everyone was like, go for it. And that's kind of how it came out. And at the time, Abington had a podcast, so I talked to them about what programs they use to record and edit, and took that information and then figured out things on my own. And then it just went from there. And originally it was weekly. But then recently, once we were back to a whole bunch of programming and different things happening here in person in the library, and then with the video, it just became a little bit too much. So now it's every other week, which is still a good schedule. And it works. So we can get all of the information done, get everything prepared. And it's been working so far.
Yeah.
In your sense, is it the kind of thing where, do you ever worry, oh, I don't have ideas, or I have so many I can't get them done, or does it vary?
Yeah, it varies depending on my mood and like the time of year.
Yeah.
That's why I think you power plan. Like sometimes I'll get messages from Alyssa that are like, I have the podcast planned out through all of next year. And you're like, holy cow, how did you do that?
Yeah, just because I want some ideas and some backup plans and know how to kind of schedule my time so I can make sure I'm researching things properly, but also have some of the more fun episodes thrown in for the people who may not like the deep dive into history. So then we'll have the book discussions for people who are very much readers. And then sometimes some of the interviews from outside for a different perspective on things. And it can get a bit overwhelming, like in terms of ideas, and then also executing those ideas well.
I think you do a good job.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, and you know, when you have discussions with Steph, the personalities kind of make it.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like the three of you are sitting there going, you know, it's not like that at all. There's a nice little interplay and a good sense of humor. Yeah. And so the people at home are like, oh, I want to hang out with these people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it shows that librarians can be interesting people.
Yeah.
We're not all boring.
Not all of us.
Not all.
It's not the stereotype.
Yes, we don't fit the stereotype. Yeah.
What does video do for you?
I think it just gives a more personal connection because they can see who you are. I know before video, it hasn't happened after video, but sometimes people would come in and be like, oh, are you the one that does the podcast? Because of voice recognition. But now it's much more a face-to-face type situation. So everyone can kind of see who we are, as well as hear our stories and our thoughts on different things.
Yeah, then you can recognize sort of, these are the staff that you get to work with when you come into the library, and we're in all different departments. We're all over the place. So no matter where you come to the library, you'll get to encounter one of us and maybe recognize us from the pod.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I just have to call it the pod sometimes.
Now, I mean, do some people listen to it and some people watch it? Is that?
Yes. I think primarily most people still listen. But I think it's just because the video section is so new that people haven't filtered over as much yet. And I mean, our listeners are still good. I think last week I checked and there were like 140 listens. You can tell when somebody's like marathon listening to everything because they'll just come up with like all of the episodes have one new listen.
Yeah.
So they binge listen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I couldn't think of the word binge.
That happens. Yeah. That happens. I mean, we're planning one. We found a cache of photos from the mid-1980s. I happened to be here then. And that's one where we're going to have to, those on video can see them,
yes.
And then we'll probably describe them for those who are listening in their car on the way to somewhere. Okay.
Yeah, and then if they want to see them, they could check out the video as well.
That's awesome.
So it's nice to have that option of being able to show some of this.
Very much so. Yeah. What have your favorite episodes been to either be a part of or listen to?
I mean, I will say, I know you started with the mugshots, and that was one. I did get to be on one of those where we talked about the guy who stole chickens, which was pretty interesting.
Oh, that was funny.
Oh my gosh.
That was hilarious.
Because Alyssa just finds the most interesting of the mugshots that when she explains them to you, you don't believe it's real history. Like, I find it really hard to believe. So I thoroughly enjoyed that one because it just took me by surprise every time because she did not prepare us going in. So I had no idea what she was about to tell me. And I loved that one thoroughly. And then in terms of the regular episodes we do, and the book discussions, I think my favorite book yet has been The Thursday Murder Club, and our patrons love that book. It's a whole series, so I'd say that's been my favorite. Yeah.
And I mean, I enjoy as a listener, the sense of humor. The chickens one. I mean, to find humor in this kind of thing is just, you know, because it's great. I enjoyed being part of the one where we talked about generational differences.
Yeah.
It was a book about the 90s, and we talked about those of us who experienced it in different ways, being at different ages. And that was any time you can have discussions like that where people from different perspectives get to share is a great thing. That one I really enjoyed. And the history ones are wonderful.
Yeah, I think in terms of my favorite mugshot was Claire Mitchell, the fraudulent psychic. He's just like one of my favorites, especially since he disappeared and no one knows what happened to him. And then in terms of book discussions, I think my favorite was when we read So You've Been Publicly Shamed.
That was a fun one.
Because I think that just like reframed the way I thought about a lot of things in media. And in terms of like society too.
Yeah,
So-
it's fun when you were like, let's pick some books to talk about. And I get to go through my list and be like, all right, Alyssa, here's some books I wanted to read. And I think the 90s one was your idea. Like Alyssa loves the 90s. In case anyone didn't figure that out. That's why we did 2 episodes on it, so that we could have multiple conversations. But I think that's always fun. Yeah.
Because you always say my household is stuck in the 90s.
It is.
Is it?
Oh, yeah. They watch a lot of 90s television as if it's the 90s. They like still watch live television. It's really interesting.
So that's not cool anymore, Brianna.
No, it's just not common. I haven't watched live television in a very long time. I got the news to watch a piece that we were on, and PJ was like, how do you have live television on in our house right now? How did you get the news? And I was like, I'm streaming the news. So even the news we stream. Yeah. Sorry, I just derailed us.
No.
No. Well, it kind of meshes with what we talk about, different perspectives where, you know, I mean, for some of us grew up in an era where that's you tune into 5 stations and that's what you have and that's what you watch, and the way media is consumed now is and what it has done, good and ill, for us.
Yeah, and podcasts are a part of that. Like that's the interesting part is I feel like podcasts have become a more common media for folks to consume on the day-to-day. Like I know we have a lot of people I know at least who listen to podcasts on their drive the way they might listen to the radio, and some also listen to their e-audiobooks, which you can get through the library via the Libby app and hoopla. So gotta pitch it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very true. Because I feel like I go through phases where it's like music and then podcasts and then music and then podcasts, and it just switches back and forth.
And I am one of those binge podcast listeners. Like I will just put on a set. That was how when I found Alyssa's, I just listened to all of them. And that was why it developed the celebrity of Alyssa for me, was because I just listened to all of them and she was the consistent figure in all of them. But then I got to hear other people. Like I think Jenny is just so funny when she's on the podcast. Like Jenny is one of our, I feel like, bubbliest staff members. Yeah. So like it's cool to get to see all those personalities.
Yeah. I think Jenny has good reactions.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's good for when you present us with history and we get to react.
Yeah. I do enjoy the research in the history ones. I feel like going into the history ones, I often get concerned that they're not going to be like entertaining enough. But so I try to make it fun and add in the side stories. Like I know at Silkman, I went into like the history of people having parrots as pets in colonial America.
But that's what is, I think, interesting about what we get to do, and what my favorite thing about public libraries is because we're not just academic and about like the way that we teach history, we get to explore all the fun side. Like we get to be in on the local history and the random tangents that people want to learn about and the random ancestor you want to find and learn about what their life was like. Like we get to do all this cool other stuff as part of that, and I like that.
And there's some interesting things that come up because this is the 100th episode, we could talk about this. Yeah. There is one episode that it was a historical one for a certain entity that I'm not going to name. They didn't like the content of it, and we would not edit it.
Yeah.
We would not edit it, and therefore it was never. It's still on the cutting room floor.
Never released. Oh, that's part of the lore of the podcast now.
It's part of the lore. It's part of the lore is that, you know, this library, we view a certain ownership of it, and so we're not going to be told what our content is going to be, you know, and so that kind of stuff happens. Is that the only one that we ever never?
Yeah, there's been a few things where I've interviewed people
Mm-hmm.
and they've been like, can we just take out like this one question, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that's fine, because sometimes either the answer turns out to be wrong after they go back and look at their things,
Yeah.
or there's some other issue with it. So that's fine, but that's only like whole episode.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's cool. It's nice that we embrace the truth, and even like of our own library, like we can tell its history for what it is. Like we
For
don't
what it is.
sugarcoat it. Yeah,
No,
yeah,
exactly, and what the perspective. Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
You know.
And I think it's led us to find out new things too. Because I remember when I originally did the Nancy K one, we didn't know who the architect was. We knew that it was built by Conrad Schroeder, but we didn't know the architect. And then through digging into it here and then talking to everyone and with the renovation projects, we were able to find that too.
Yeah, it's the active finding and making of history. That's cool.
Yeah, that it's older than the Albright, which
Yeah.
is something that
Really?
those of us who've worked here for 40 years didn't even know.
Yeah, I would not have guessed that. That's
Yeah,
wild.
because
Yeah.
it's the 84 or something, I think it's.
1891,
90
it was built.
built,
This was 1893, and I didn't know that. You know.
It's crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it is. It's very interesting, and so you find out things like that by just digging, and so it's a motivation to dig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, a good reason to. So
Yeah, and the same thing happened with the illegal coal mining underneath when I did that episode too, because you kind of always heard rumors that it happened, but you never knew the actual like story of it and what
Yeah.
happened. Because I just remember one of our employees telling me, like, no, they like filled that in with rock, and I'm like, what?
When you first told me, I was just like, there were mines there?
Yeah.
And then I remembered we're in Lackawanna County, so there are mines everywhere.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
That's crazy.
We've just never had a problem with subsidence.
Yeah. Because,
Here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here,
I don't,
Yeah.
here. Not so much Greenridge Branch, and certainly Silkman House had problems.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
There's something about the way this building was built. Like when we had those little like earthquake rumbles a couple months ago, most of us didn't feel anything in here. I think we're just nice and sturdily put.
Yeah. I think it's also that the city kind of threw a fit when the illegal coal mining happened, so they made sure it was packed right back in.
Oh, that's
So it's
yeah.
more sturdy ground because it's all filled in.
Well, at least that was smart of them.
the people who, because it happened in Central City, there's stronger advocates for taking care of the problem had it happen in West Side or North Scranton, as it did,
Yeah.
or Dunmore or someplace like that. The voids
Yeah.
were allowed to persist.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
I often wonder if there's any. I mean, I know there's mines under my house, but I don't know like if it's directly under my house. Yeah.
Makes you wonder.
Yeah.
when we lived in West Side, I was advised to get insurance for subsidence, which you could get, because it happened. It happened.
Yeah. Yeah. One of our staff knew someone who it like opened up in their basement over in, I think it was in Trips Park or in that
Yeah.
vicinity. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So, and it's
Yeah. It's just how it is around here.
Yeah. And where else do you get these tangents about coal mines than on this podcast? I like it.
I feel like I tell stories about this area to my friends that live in other areas, and they're like, "That can't be real," and I'm like,
it's real.
It's
It's real.
It's real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
"Yeah,
I almost had a car go down in one once. When I was a teenager, I worked in a cemetery and it was raining out, and I parked the car on the grass, and I come and it was like that. It was like that. Well, you could see it in this video, and I had to get it towed out. And it turns out it was a subsidence. It wasn't a serious one, but I couldn't move the car, and my father was not happy.
Oh no.
yeah."
Because we're going to get it towed.
My mom always tells the story of her like walking on the road and then the ground just dropping out beneath her because it was a subsidence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it happened.
Oh
It
my
happened.
I
gosh.
mean, she was fine.
Wow.
This was like when she was a teenager.
That's crazy. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah, it's always interesting looking into all of these things.
Yeah.
And I feel like we've tried some things that worked. We had the whole series where we interviewed the staff, which I thought was interesting, and it was nice to kind of hear everyone's stories about everyone that worked here and how they got to here. And there were those, the history ones, the book discussions, a few like movie documentary discussions, interviews. I feel like it's been
eventful.
Yeah.
You've covered a lot of ground. And if that was the first 100, where do you see yourself going in the next 100?
Oh gosh. I know we have ones on the slides like Scott was talking about. We have some more book discussions coming up. We have a few that are on the list of more historical. I know I definitely want to do one on Conrad Schroeder himself. I know I did Lansing C. Holden. They worked very close, but Conrad, I feel like built the city for a lot of it. I would like to do interviews with more people that we're partners with in the community. And then there's historical books that we've discovered in storage of the original collection, doing some on those. I know there's an American War Songs book, which is very fascinating. And I still have that in the back, and I look at it every day, and I'm like, I have to do something with that.
You scared me when you told me. You were like, oh yeah, depending on when that book was made, those green ones could be arsenic books.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? And then I was like, I don't think they are, right? We don't think we have.
No.
Okay. I was like, that's crazy.
You know, you can get a bookmark, and that has like which shades of green, so you can like match it up to see, or you can get it tested.
You mean they have made books out of arsenic?
Yes, that's how they got green colors back in the 1800s.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
I know. That's why we're like 1800s. Oh, wait a second.
Yeah.
How does that?
Yeah, because that's how they got vibrant greens, was arsenic. And then there's some purples, I think it was called like London purple or something. Those are also poisonous because they just like, we're like, oh, pretty colors. It's kind of like the uranium glassware where it's green, but it's also radioactive. Only it's arsenic. Because that's what they think contributed to Napoleon's death too, was the arsenic wallpaper.
Whoa.
Your wallpaper can kill
Yeah.
a world leader.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
crazy.
Yeah, there's a book, I forget who owns it, but it's all wallpaper samples of like green wallpaper, and it's like deadly wallpaper, I think it's called.
Deadly wallpaper.
Yeah, but you can, it's all digitized, and you can find it online and like go through and look at all the patterns, and they're very pretty. I mean, I also love green, so. And like, if I lived in the 1800s, I definitely would just be dead because of arsenic poisoning. Because I'd be like, I need this green dress.
That's funny. Oh.
One of the things that, you know, that is a source of pride for the library is it wasn't like your boss, me, said, Melissa, you're going to do a podcast. I would never have come up with the idea. It's something you came up with, and we were able to say run with it. And you know, to have talented people who you know want to do things like that is something that, you know, we're very proud of. And that to be here at 100 episodes, it's great.
It's an achievement.
It is an achievement. You know, and you know, you have fans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awkward. Yeah, I know our one maintenance person, I think it's his aunt, I think, is like a diehard fan.
Shout out
Shout out
to our maintenance man's aunt.
I'm so sorry, I forget your name. I know I met you. I'm so sorry.
But yeah, that's true. And we all willingly do this with you because it's just so fun to be a part of it, you know?
It is. It's not like, you have to, you know, beg us or whatever.
Yeah, it's not like Alyssa goes, here's some stuffy history. I need you guys to just sit and listen to me talk. We get to go,
No, it's not like that.
Yeah.
So
a fun
it's the right
conversation.
person doing it.
Yeah.
Thank you. I try my best to get everyone on board, do interesting things, and
We end by flattering Alyssa until she is embarrassed.
Yes. Mission accomplished.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you have any other thoughts?
We just look forward to the next 100.
Exactly. Yeah. Can't wait to keep being a part of it and see
Yes,
what fun new things you do.
absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome.
Well, thank you both for being here. Yeah, if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, anything at all, feel free to email me at aloney@albright.org, or feel free to call the library at 570-348-3000. Thank you for listening to all the episodes, or if you've only listened to a few, and thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Woo! 100th episode spectacular.